And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Hello, everyone out there in Tampa Bay and beyond. This is James Knowles coming at you for the RBLR Sports Podcast. I am here tonight to cover the Rowdies like I like to do every week for you. And I'm here with the person who also likes to do that with me. It's Carlos Rueda. How are you doing tonight?
I do like to do that as well, James. I like talking about the Rowdies. It's a fun thing. I'm doing well. It's a nice day here, Tuesday evening. I'm supposed to be in Chicago by now for something I'm doing. But, you know, James, these things happen. Flights get delayed. And I'm still here, and it makes it easier to record the podcast. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. Lovely weekend this weekend, particularly because of a fun little result for my favorite soccer team. And yeah, things are going well, James. How about you?
Yep, things are also going well for me. I am happy as well for the result that you are referring to. And, you know, pretty much everything is going well outside of that too. So
there you go.
Let's focus on the result, though, that we have talked about a little bit here. On Saturday night, the Tampa Bay Rowdies went away to Loudoun County, Virginia, and beat Loudoun United 4-2. In the RBLR Cup standings, that means that everyone got 1 point. Nobody had Loudoun scoring 2 goals, so sucks to suck for us, but we all did guess that a win would occur for the Rowdies. That puts me and the guest spot on 13 points. Carlos, you have 11, and Eureka is now in double digits with 10, so congratulations to all of us. And, yeah, we will have another chance coming up here this week because we have to preview another away game, this time away to Las Vegas Lights, and I wonder where everyone's going to be leaning on that one. Please like and subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to get through all of this, seeing our lovely faces. And if you don't, maybe you do not like the way that we look. Maybe you just like the way that we sound. If that's your, if that's the way that you prefer, then you can just follow us on social media at RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then you will obviously get us also on all your favorite podcast platforms. The last thing that I would like to say, please, if you will, help us get nominated for Creative Loafing's Best of the Bay. You can do that on their website, going to the entertainment section and then going to podcasts. That is where you can nominate us. And then if you do that, obviously we will have that nomination and a vote. So please do that. We would appreciate anyone listening to help us out in that small little way. And yeah, Carlos, let's get into it. If you could, please walk us through the quick recap, and we'll do our questions and analysis. I think all of our guests know the way that it, or all of our listeners know the way that it goes, right?
Yeah, James, on this past Saturday, like you mentioned, the Rowdies went out to Loudoun County. Fun fact, the wealthiest county in the United States by median household income. And just like the high wealth in the county, there was a wealth of goals. This final score was 4-2. 4 goals for your Tampa Bay Rowdies and 2 for Loudoun in a thrilling game, very back and forth, much more so than I would personally expected. We came out with Sparrow in goal, Antley, Lasso, Guillen, and Areman making a rather surprising left back debut, maybe, James? I can't recall the last time he's played left back. Jordan Doherty, Ekra in that midfield 2 right in front of the back line, Dalgar, Dennis, and LaCava in front of them with J.J. Williams as sort of the main striker as per usual. The game definitely did not start how Rowdies fans would have wanted. About 9 minutes in, I think it was Williamson that got the first goal for Loudoun United. Off an assist from, again, the player I told everybody to watch out for, my friend Aiden Rocha, who played in a lovely ball that slipped right behind our back line for an easy header. What was a really nice goal, actually, James, for Williamson and Loudoun. Not too much long later, though. That was a weird sentence. Areman came back and scored a goal in the 31st minute to even the game on a really nice play that I think we'll break down in a little bit here. Very back and forth. Came out in the second half. Loudoun gets the first goal of the half in the 54th minute. And then again, 15 minutes later, the super sub, LaCava Jennings, came in the 69th minute and put in a nice goal to even the game. Next thing you know, Rowdies notched 2 more goals, including 1 in stoppage time to put the game away 4-2. I skipped over a lot of detail there, but I just want to save that analysis a bit for our breakdown here in a second, because there's a lot to talk about with these goals. Yeah, I'm really happy with how they looked. Everybody seemed to get involved in them. roller coaster of a game. I've said it over and over again, James. Lots of goals, lots to talk about here. But we pulled it out in the end. That's all that matters. 3 points, 4 goals for us. Love to see it. LaCava Jennings, again, ended up with 2 goals and an assist, by the way, while he had a hat trick on the line. And I'll talk about this in a second. Really, really nice assist at the end of the game as well. Ended up with a USL Team of the Week nomination. Yeah, fun stuff, James. Wild game. Let's talk about it. Let's just jump into that first half. Lots to mention here. Kind of a choppy start for us. It seemed like Loudoun came out aggressive. They're really, really pushing for it. With such a young team, it makes sense. Just come out of the gates like strong, try and get what you can off the bat. And Loudoun ended up getting the first goal in the 10th minute, James. What happened there? Did you notice any sort of breakdown that we can kind of attribute this goal to for Loudoun, or was it just a really nice play from Loudoun?
I do think that Loudoun was very spirited in this. I have to give it to them on that sense. And I was writing the first bit of the preview article that I have for this upcoming week. And the way that I phrased it there, not to give everything away, but the way that I phrased it there was that I think Loudoun United came out of this, and, you know, it is a bunch of kids. It's not the 16-year-old that you and I had talked about last week. He was actually out injured. So unfortunate for Matai Akinboni, but it was still a bunch of kids. They wanted to, you know, win this game. They probably want to win every game because this is how they're developing into actual professional players. This is how they're hopefully going to become, you know, players who can compete not at this level, but at the MLS level, at the international level, maybe playing in, you know, a top 5 league in Europe. That's obviously all of their goals. When you're 17, 18, 19 years old, you can still probably aim to do that. And so this is how you're building to be able to become that player. And that's, you could see it in them. They were hungry. They really wanted to get out there and win as early as possible. But I do want to, you know, I do want to say that with the caveat that they did not have, unfortunately, enough quality to get them over the line. On the other side of things, this was, and this was another thing that I wrote about. So I guess I am giving a little bit away, but I don't know what other way to phrase it. I really hate that stupid sports aphorism, and not to call anybody out because, you know, certain people could be listening. They probably aren't, but I really don't like it when coaches say that, you know, we need to just up the intensity. We have to want it more. We have to, you know, you could really tell that the team just, you have to be the hungrier team. That almost never means anything to me because, you know, if you're a professional player, don't you think that you would have gotten to this level because you are like hyper competitive and people hate playing, you know, pickup games with you because you can be kind of mean about it sometimes because you have to go and win every game. Like that's the kind of person you are to get yourself to be a professional most of the time. Most of the time, that's how you get to, you know, practice every single day. Like you have a focus on it that becomes religious, and, you know, that's where you are. But I think in this one, it was actually true that the Rowdies kind of just weren't as interested as the other team. You could see that they kind of knew that they were playing a lot of teenagers, not entirely teenagers, but a lot of teenagers. And I think that they were just kind of, you know, not going through the motions, but they expected that they would win. And they didn't come out with the same intensity, I think, that you and I have seen over the last couple of months when they have actually turned their season around. But on the flip side of that little argument that I'm making, I would also say that the Rowdies knew they had enough quality to win, and ultimately they did. You know, in the first half, though, especially, I thought that the Rowdies were just, you know, they were second to a lot of balls. They were second to a lot of the second balls. So, you know, if a goalkeeper clears it, then the first ball is whoever gets up to head it in a certain direction. And then the second ball is where it falls. Loudoun United would win a lot of those. Additionally, I saw, I should have tried to count them, but, you know, we only now have, I guess, the statistics of what passing completion looked like. And that doesn't look so bad. So I guess that doesn't really seem terrible, but at least in the first half, especially, I thought that there were quite a few wayward passes that I saw that, you know, just like, not really difficult, but just maybe they didn't have the same, eye of the tiger focus that we're kind of used to seeing, right?
Sure.
And it just seemed like, Carlos, I'm sure, you've played soccer in the past, and if you go out there and you're like, let's say you're just on the A team of this, whatever it is, and you're playing the C team, like you expect to win, right? You're not gonna go out there with the same intensity. And if I'm being honest, I that's what I thought I saw from the boys out there. I don't know if they would push back on me on that. I'm sure they would. I don't know if the coaching staff would push back on me on that. I know they would push back, but that's how I saw it. And, maybe that's a little harsh, but I do think that it would make sense because, again, you're playing with a bunch of teenagers. You're going to be just going through the motions a little bit at times. And as much as I hate that old saying, I really think it actually was correct in this game. But unfortunately, Loudoun United really didn't have enough to get them over the line. And Neil Collins even said it in the post game, like Loudoun United probably wanted something from this. They thought that they could have got something from the way that it ultimately turned out. And we're going to get more into the second half because that's where it actually started to change, in my opinion. But yeah, in the first half, it really seemed to me that the Rowdies were just like, well, eventually we're going to win. We know it. Let's just get there.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird game like that. If you look back at the past, I think not including this game, we had beat Loudoun 6 games in a row, going back to 2021. Most of them have been pretty comfortable. Notably, the last time we played them before last Saturday was the 8-0 win at home last October. So, I mean, I think historically, I say that in quotes because it hasn't been that long since they've been around. It's been a pretty comfortable series. So, I mean, I can see the mentality of going in there and feeling a little too comfortable, I guess you can say. Our baseball overlords, the Tampa Bay Rays, have had a bit of a lesson in that recently as well. So if you keep up with that, it was the Royals and the Athletics, 2 of the worst teams in the league that have given them the most challenge. And at the end of the day, though, the difference is that we still got the 3 points. So I'm pretty happy with that, obviously. But you can definitely see in the first half, it was a little bit of an adjustment. Loudoun came out really, really aggressive. The youth aspect to it made them, I guess, come out with a little bit more fire. Maybe they're running around the pitch a bit more. Aiden Rocha, giving him another shout out. He had a great assist on that first goal, and it just seemed like they were like really, really, really excited, and they had a renewed sense of confidence once they got that first goal. Notably, I think it's important to say we've kind of like downplayed what Loudoun is, probably for good reason. But they're definitely not like the worst team in the Eastern Conference yet either. Like they're in 8th place. There are 4 teams that are quote unquote worse than them, according to the table right now. They won those last 2 games before Birmingham last week. They played Birmingham pretty close. And again, it seemed like they're a team that kind of like from this game have played pretty well. I think the commentators mentioned this in the game. It's a team that's played pretty well all season, but can't really put together a 90-minute performance, right? Yep. I think the quote the wording they used was that they've played a really, really good 60 minutes of soccer. And then, there's 30 minutes throughout the game where they can't really finish it, right? And that makes sense with a team kind of like Loudoun, a team of guys that are trying to find their footing, a team of guys that are relatively inexperienced. It makes sense that the intent, I guess, not to use the wording that you might hate, but the intensity that they need might fade away a bit toward the end of a half or towards the end of a game. It makes sense. And I think we capitalized on that, and we'll mention this when we talk about the second half in a bit. But yeah, I think you can see that pretty easily in the first goal that they had, James. I took a couple of notes on that. There was, I can't tell who this player is for Loudoun, but the Loudoun player that brings it across into our half has a good 10 yards of space between him and Jordan Doherty, who had a fantastic game. I'm not like knocking Doherty on this at all. It's just that we were all tracking back and there was no sense of pressure on him at all from anybody. He was the guy that passed the ball to Rocha, and Rocha had plenty of space to feed a really, really nice ball towards Williamson, who just got really wide open because whoever the other guy streaking into the box was, Lasso started to follow him and make sure he didn't get the ball, but it left Williamson wide open. Antley was a little bit slow to get back. Next thing you know, they have a really nice goal. So again, I can't really think of another word for it other than intensity, but I guess the mentality wasn't really there yet 10 minutes into the game. But again, happy with the adjustments. It seemed like we could turn it on eventually. Like you said, maybe mostly in the second half, but I was really, really, really impressed with our first goal of the game, James. 30 minutes in, great ball movement. It was the throw in and then nice little header flick on from JJ Williams, who, by the way, I've noticed this in the last several weeks. JJ Williams has such a knack for just like the one touch flick, the one touch pass, whether it's with his head
that's a good point.
Yeah, whether it's just with his head or whether it's with his heel or just a quick little pass. Like the one touch passing has been a really, really kind of hidden aspect of his game that I had no clue about until he started kind of getting into form with us. And that was no different on that first goal. He found, I think it was Antley on the right side of the field, who made a really, really nice pass in between two Loudoun defenders, and then just a series of passes. Dennis to Jennings, Jennings holding the ball up just a little bit, and Areman out of nowhere streaking in from that left back spot and finishing a really, really nice goal. I was really happy with that. It was kind of demonstrative of a whole team offense that's kind of characterized our revival this season, I think. So that was nice to see. And then the rest of the first half, James, I can't think of another great opportunity we had. It seemed like it was a lot of possession for us after that goal. And a few minutes before that goal as well. It seemed like we started holding the ball a lot, moving the ball around, not a lot of penetration with the exception of that goal. And we take it into halftime. And I think Loudoun actually had a couple more decent chances right before halftime. They had a chance to take the lead, but we locked it down pretty well. Midfield had a decent first half. Not too many complaints, I think, from the first half, other than just a little bit slow to start. But I think we fixed that mentality to an extent, right? And the second half comes out, we allow a quick goal, but same sort of story in the second half. Anything else on the first half before we move on? Because I don't want to start talking about the second half if we have someone else to mention from the first 45.
I don't know if we have any more specific things to go over. I think that it's kind of more in relation to the second half. So if you want to just jump into that, we can do that now, and then I'll kind of go through that same big picture thing. And if you want to do the goals again, that's perfect here, because for this one, ultimately what it turned into for me was, you did see that the Rowdies did up their intensity levels, and that was especially true when we went down again, because we did give up another goal. But that kind of seemed to be the same little thing where the Rowdies came out a little flat. And, goes back to that silly little mentality thing that I've already talked about. Don't want to go over here. But, Loudoun United really did want it. The Rowdies had to kind of get hit in the face a little bit. I guess that's a boxing aphorism, but they had to get hit in the face before they could come back and realize that, we need to actually, start to play this game, and we need to focus a little bit. So they did. And, obviously they were able to level it and then go up again. But I think that ultimately what it really came down to was us taking that, one more punch to the face and being like, okay, let's go. Let's start to actually play here. And then, unfortunately for Loudoun United, another thing that you had already mentioned is that they kind of have a tendency at this point to not be able to see out games. And, I think they have taken the lead before in a couple of other ones recently where they just weren't able to hold on to it. And that comes down to experience, because, as a team gets more desperate because they're down, they're going to try different things and they're going to be a lot more direct. And if you're a team that has more experience, you're going to be able to handle that kind of stuff. If you have less experience, it's just going to be harder to face wave after wave after wave after wave of attack. And, that's literally what it comes down to. And then the other thing was, I think Loudoun United, as much as they are younger players and you expect them to have a lot more energy, I still think they ran out of steam a little bit.
Yeah.
And the thing about that comes down to, if these are kids who are just coming from academy level games, playing at this level and playing with the running that is required in a USL championship game for 90 minutes. I mean, God, I was 18 and playing high school soccer, and, we did our fitness tests and whatever. But if you had, especially, considering the level of play that we had, if you had asked us to go from that to even, the USL Academy level, that would be bad. But if you had asked us to step from the high school level to the USL Championship level, that's just a whole different level of fitness that they probably are not quite season ready yet. So, if they're going to try to step up from, unfortunately, lower quality games at the USL Academy, or sorry, actually, I should be saying MLS Academy because it's DC United's Academy. Either way, if you're going to step up from lower level MLS Academy games into the USL Championship, these are grown men, effectively. They're in the prime of their sports years. I think that soccer players are supposed to be in their prime between 26, 27, 28, 29 years old. And then it's all downhill, but no. But yeah, if you're going up against the guys who are in that prime, you're just gonna face a lot tougher problems. And unfortunately, this was one of the ones where Loudoun United did not have it in them to carry themselves over the finish line. And but again, they did come out with that intensity. They did come out with that hunger. They actually had the desire. They want to, take these games and learn something from them. They want to earn MLS contracts. If they have MLS contracts, they want to earn MLS minutes. If they, if they have been getting MLS minutes and this is just where they're on for a week or so, they probably want to become starters and ultimately make a move to a higher club across the pond, so to speak. So credit to them, credit to the performance that they put in. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough in them, and that's kind of the way that it goes sometimes. But I was still very impressed with a lot of their players. And I tell you what, if the Rowdies, we talked about this last week too, if the Rowdies wanted to go sign some players, I have a couple of names that I would personally recommend, but the coaching staff who have all played at actual professional levels and know what they're talking about a lot more than you or I do.
Sure.
I think that they would know better what they're looking for. So I'll leave it to them.
Notably, they had that game against Birmingham on Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, 2 days of rest in between games. Again, maybe not as big a deal for a team kind of in Loudoun's age range, but still a factor, I'm sure, especially for, think about their left back, right? Abdul Zane. He had to keep up with Antley, and then as soon as Dalgard leaves the game for who came in for Dalgard? No, I'm mistaken. As soon as Deon Harris comes in the second half, right, Zane has already played a full 64 minutes of soccer. Deon Harris comes in with fresh legs, and he's just running up and down the pitch and causing chaos on that right wing. Zane, the left back, is in trouble. I mean, Deon had a huge role in the second half. And you can imagine the fatigue starts to kick in after that, game in Birmingham, after a full hour of play here in Loudoun. And then next thing you know, here comes Deon Harris warming up off the bench. It's got to be a nightmare if you're Loudoun's left back.
Oh, yeah.
And it was for him, unfortunately. I guess fortunately for us, right? I think the age range sometimes it definitely plays a factor. A lot of these guys aren't as young as we make them out to be, but imagine Jace Clark, right? Their center back is 17 years old. Imagine how is he defending a corner kick against Forrest Lasso? Right. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And to their credit, they held out pretty well. I don't think we had any particularly dangerous, set piece opportunities, but it's a factor for sure. Fatigue is a factor. I think on a day where Loudoun was, at their best, maybe fully rested, this game could have gone differently. It definitely could have. So again, I think it's worth giving them their credit where it's due. But ultimately, second half comes around, and let's just jump into that a bit more specifically here, because second half rolls around again, somewhat of a mirror of that first half in terms of kind of how it starts. Loudoun comes out with a bit more intensity, and their goal scorer, what's his name, Hopkins, finds himself pretty free in the middle of the box. I don't know what happens here. They had a guy rushing down the right side, and next thing you know, Hopkins he has a lot of space. Doherty gets caught up with two guys around him. He marks the wrong guy, unfortunately. Next thing you know, Hopkins finishes a really easy but impressive finish. That bounces in to the far post. I'm not fully sure what happened there, James. It's unfortunate because it seemed like we had enough guys back to deal with that attack from Loudoun. But Williamson drew in three guys, and we had three defenders around him, which left Doherty entirely by himself with two guys. And Hopkins finished that ball. Again, to his credit, Williamson had proven to be a dangerous player already this game. Maybe that's why we kind of drew so much of our attention on that opportunity. When he did really well, made a great pass. Hopkins, great finish. Next thing you know, we're down 2-1. Unfortunate start to the second half. Just when we thought at the end of the first half that things were starting to come into our favor, we were starting to wake up a bit. But fortunately, it didn't take too long to get right back into the game. Immediately after our substitutions, we brought in, it was Jennings and Dalgard came in at the same time, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Jennings and Dalgard came in for Ekra and Areman, and just totally changed the game. I was really interested about how our formation would look with those substitutions, James, because obviously Ekra and Areman were playing that left back and that sort of center midfield position, while Jennings is obviously more of a striker, sometimes a winger, and Deion Harris is definitely a winger. So it was really interesting to me to see how things were moved around. And I think that's one of Neil Collins' best traits. He's really able to kind of like find the guys that are dynamic, move them around a bit. I think we ended up with Guillen at left back, and I don't really know what else happened from there. There's a lot of movement with those subs. Obviously, it worked out. We had basically all of our attacking force in there at the same time. LaCava, Williams, and Jennings in all at the same time. Harris comes in, causes chaos on that right wing. Next thing you know, we tie the game 2-2 with a lovely, lovely cross on the ground from Harris to Jennings, who timed his run perfectly. Beautiful. Tie game 2-2. That was in the 69th minute when we tied the game. So we're in the 70th minute. There's about 20 minutes to go. Rowdies have a bit of momentum here, and it did not take much longer for us to get that third goal. But it was a really, really weird goal, James, if you remember. The 78th minute, J.J. Williams follows a cross that was overshot from Cal Jennings, right? It goes all the way to the touchline, to the far side of the field, on the other side of the field. And J.J. Williams, you don't even really see what he does in the moment because the camera did terribly to follow him. The broadcast was horrendous, by the way. The ball is out of the camera range, and all of a sudden you see J.J. Williams with the ball and the Loudoun defender just on the ground. You're like, what happened? But all of a sudden the play's still going. J.J. Williams draws 3-4 guys. He's by himself. Everybody fell asleep on the play because I thought the ball was going out of bounds. J.J. Williams takes it right to the keeper and just feeds a perfect pass to to a Cal Jennings that was entirely by himself. He does so well to hold up the ball just for a half second, kind of fake everybody out to ensure that the ball goes into the back of the net, finishes with his left foot. Beautiful. That's the 3-2. That's where we're in the lead. Starting to feel a bit more comfortable. But Loudoun does not go away. They're fighting hard. They're still in the game. Like, they're not going away. They have a bit more possession. Sort of nail in the coffin, though, comes around the 86th minute. Daniel Chica gets a red card on what would have been a breakaway for Cal Jennings. Chopped him down, whatever. Weirdly enough, I felt Loudoun had sort of like their best spell in those last 20 minutes when they had 10 men. They had a stretch of those like 5, 6, 7 minutes where they held the ball pretty well. They were just throwing in crosses. They were looking for whatever they can. There's a couple looks where they could have ended up with a goal with 10 men, but the back line held strong. And next thing you know, breakaway. That Jordan Doherty video is so funny to me. I mean, Jordan Doherty breaks away with the ball in the 94th minute stoppage time, makes it to the halfway point on the field, and just gets chopped down. Like he chips a little ball by whoever the Loudoun defender was and gets murdered. He's just dead at half field. And next thing you know, it's Cal Jennings running down the field, wide open, has a free goal on his boot here to give him the hat trick, and makes the smart choice, right? Like the I guess non-selfish choice to tap it to the right, and Jake LaCava is there to finish the easiest goal of his life.
Yep.
Nail in the coffin, 4-2, Rowdies win, 3 points. Roller coaster every game. But again, even when we went up 3-2, there was not really a point where I was like fully comfortable. It wasn't really until we scored that fourth goal till I was like, okay, obviously game over. Even when Loudoun had their red card, when they were down to 10 men, they were pressuring, they had a lot of possession. I was not comfortable until we got that fourth goal. Got the 3 points. But again, I think it's a story of two halves. I know it's a tacky saying in sports, but it's true. We came out in the second half with a lot more intensity, 4 shots on target in the second half to just the 1 in the first half. FOTMOB says we have, quote unquote, 3 big chances in the second half versus the 0 in the first half. And yeah, changed the game in the second half, obviously a bit more intensity. The subs were perfectly timed from Neil Collins.
Absolutely.
And the adjustments were perfect. There's no better word for it. Obviously impactful subs right off the bat. 54th minute, Dayon and Jennings came in. 5 minutes later, Jennings gets a goal off of the Harris assist. That's it. I talked a lot there, right? That was a breakdown of all the goals in the second half. There was a lot. That was 4 goals in the second half. Lots of stuff happening, but ultimately came out with 3 points. What was the difference in the second half? Why did we come out so much stronger? There wasn't any subs at halftime, right? No. Like I'm not really sure where the difference was. I just know that the subs of Jennings coming in and Harris coming in really, like, those were like noticeable game-changing substitutions. But Neil Collins just must have given them a really intense talking to at halftime or something, because it was a different team, and I was really happy to see it.
Yeah, I still lean towards the, you kind of had to get hit in the face again there, and afterwards they were able to turn it on a little bit more. But it's also, when did we score? We scored later on when they were starting to run out of steam. And all of our subs, the people that you had already mentioned, like Dayon Harris coming off the bench, and you've been running for however long you've been running, and you had a game earlier this week, and suddenly you've got Dayon Harris, one of the fastest guys in the league, coming at you. I think it's just that's what it comes down to. And again, credit to Loudoun United for everything that they did here, but they didn't have what they needed to. The other thing that they didn't have, let's forget the fitness, let's forget the intensity aspect, all that. The last thing that I wanted to bring up was the third goal really helped kind of encapsulate this for me. The third goal that the Rowdies scored, I should say, not the third goal of the game, but yeah. The third goal that the Rowdies scored really helped encapsulate this for me. The Loudoun United players have all the heart in the world. You could see that. Again, they're playing for their professional careers. They're playing for their futures in the game, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of them don't really know how to handle all of the tough situations that they're going to be put in a game just yet. That comes with game time experience. That's just how it is. But to get to the third goal that we scored, like you already highlighted here, there is a cross that goes over and beyond everybody, kind of just misses. It's a bad cross in the end, but JJ Williams knows that he is the time to run it down and get it and bring it back. So he didn't really sprint to get the ball on the second, go, he wasn't like, jogging, but he wasn't sprinting either. I just want to, it wasn't, he didn't need to go all out. So anyway, he gets to the ball, which is on pretty much the end line, on the sideline there. And that defender that is up against him kind of falls against him. And if you watch it on the replay, because I couldn't see it, like you said, I couldn't really see it live super well, but on the replay, you can see a bit more of the way that it goes. And he kind of falls into JJ Williams in a way that I'm assuming he expected he would get a call. I don't know why, because it wasn't a foul, but he expected he would get a call for it. Obviously that didn't happen. So now JJ Williams has the ball. He's in acres of space. What are you going to do? You're going to run right back at their goal, and you see if you can create a chance. Yeah. So then the next defender, Daniel Chica, goes out there to defend him, and JJ Williams, everything that he is good at in soccer, it's a lot of stuff. Dribbling really isn't his forte. I mean, let's kind of be real about that.
He looked a little clumsy running towards the goal.
He did.
With that,
he did.
Like he was like surprised that he ended up with the ball with that much space.
That's honestly probably a good way to put it. JJ Williams is running at this guy. He kind of just takes, like, it wasn't even a big body feint, like if you watch players who are famous for their dribbling, a lot of them have like a small drop of the shoulder. You think, oh, they're going that way, and then they have enough dexterity to, with absolutely no space, turn it backwards and go the other direction, right? That's what the best dribblers in the world are known for. I don't think JJ Williams even did drop his shoulder. I just think he kind of pushed it to the side to Daniel Chica's right, to JJ Williams' left. He just pushed it there, and then he was able to run around him. Now, that's going to happen even to the best players at times, but it was too easy. That's really what it was. It was just too easy. Daniel Chica didn't have I don't know if it was experience or if it was really just like he didn't have the wherewithal in that moment to react or to defend properly, to make sure that kind of play wouldn't happen and he wouldn't get beat like that. Anyway, so JJ Williams is around two defenders now. He's got past the one guy on the sideline. He's now got past Daniel Chica, I think, in the box at this point. I think he's fully inside the box.
Yeah, he's at like the 8-yard box. Like,
right.
Close. Yeah.
Another player is coming out to JJ Williams to defend him, but he's running like towards the goal. So, or towards the end line. So the goal is on the end line, and he's running out there to kind of cut off the front post, I suppose, even though I think the goalkeeper should really have that regardless. So he's running in that direction. There is the left back, Abdul Zane, that you had already talked about. He's in the 6-yard box. JJ Williams finds such a simple pass to Cal Jennings, who was wide open, something you already said. Cal does one step from facing outward with the ball. Suddenly he's facing inward. All of the other players have kind of already like slid past him almost. Yeah. And he has a very simple shot to play it in. That's just kind of what it came down to for me. That was a perfect encapsulation of everything, because Loudoun United should be able to handle that situation a lot better, but they just weren't. And that comes down to experience. That comes down to quality. That comes down to fitness, all in one. So it's not like it's a bad goal. It's also way too easy a goal. It's way too easy. And I'm glad that the Rowdies scored and, went ahead and ultimately ended the game 4-2. But yeah, that's one where Loudoun United are going to look back and you're going to say, okay, this is where you messed up. That's where you messed up. That's where you messed up. And it's unfortunate, but that's what ultimately, when they do their video review, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lapse on the table for that one. That was a wacky goal to give up.
But that was a long talk about one goal.
That was a go-ahead goal. I mean, that was a goal, that essentially gave us 3 points at the end of the day. And yeah, I mean, I think it's worth giving credit to JJ Williams for, following the play, not giving up on the play, seeing that the ball is not necessarily going out of bounds, and trying to make something happen with it. And again, goals don't have to be pretty, right? They just have to end up in the goal. So At the end of the day, it's worth all the same, whether it's a banger from halfway, chipping the goalie, or one of those goofy goals that, yeah, I guess Loudoun just fell asleep on. So ultimately, James, I think we can say we're pretty happy with this result. I think I can speak for you in saying that happy with 3 points. I think at the end of the day, the second half was a lot better than the first half, but lots of good stuff to take away from this. Lots of good stuff. I mentioned it after the game, some takeaways. What the hell is Areman doing at left back? It was awesome. It was great that he can play there. So fantastic that we have a player as dynamic as him on the team, especially with these injuries. Deion Harris is back from injury, clearly, and he announced it to the whole league very, very, loudly with his assist right off the bench. LaCava Jennings is an incredible player. I don't know. I'm curious if he'll continue this kind of super sub role, or if we might see him getting some starting minutes and how that might affect the LaCava JJ Williams playtime, or what the formation looks like. But all good takeaways, really. Maybe we can, nitpick and pick out a couple mistakes from the back line on the 2 goals, which are probably fair. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with this, and mostly good takeaways, particularly going into this next week game, which, not to spoil it, but we are playing the worst team in the league. Actually the worst team in the league, not Loudoun, right? Like the team that's only picked up 9 points all season, if I'm not mistaken. So we are looking good. I hope we can get some guys back from injury by then, get them into the game, let them get some minutes. But we'll see. I know literally nothing about anybody's injury situation other than Leo Fernandez, right? Unfortunately. But apart from that, still several guys out on injury. Hilton, Ervo, who else? Schroeder. Mostly the midfield guys is kind of what we're missing. So hopefully we get those guys back ASAP, or who knows, maybe we can go out and get another guy on loan. We'll see what happens.
Would not mind it.
James, I think we can move on to the man of the match. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. I'm going to take the easy option here, James. I'm going to pick none other than LaCava Jennings. LaCava Jennings was, I think, for me, the obvious man of the match, and I'm okay with taking the easy cop-out answer because somebody needs to recognize him. LaCava Jennings had a fantastic game. I don't need to repeat it too much. He came in the 64th minute and contributed to 3 goals in, the 26 minutes he was on the field. That's incredible. 2 goals in that span and an assist, and maybe probably should have been a hat trick instead of that, assist. Either way, basically, was involved in 3 goals, 2 goals and 1 assist. That's all that matters. 9.1 rating for him on FOTMob. Awesome job. Again, really curious to see what his role is going forward. Will he continue to be this kind of super sub, or could we see him getting some starting minutes again? I don't know. He hasn't really started much since the beginning of the season, but he's definitely looking like he's kind of finding a rhythm. So hoping for more good stuff like that from him, because, again, 2 goals and an assist in 26 minutes is incredible. And if that's kind of stuff he can produce as a substitute, maybe that's the best spot for him. That super sub in the last half hour.
Yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree. But for the sake of being a little bit different with it, I will say my man of the match is Jake Areman. So Jake Areman is a player who, as you noted, has not played a ton of left back for us. He has played there sporadically. It's weird because I remember when we signed him from Charlotte Independence. Charlotte Independence it was. And he impressed me for Charlotte Independence playing at left back. So I thought that that's where he was actually coming to fill in. Then, we had different players playing different spots and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he didn't really. He mostly played in the center of the midfield. But this past weekend, we were without Ryan Spalding for the first time in 2 or 3 months, whatever it was. Ryan Spalding was actually starting for New England Revolution in MLS. So, he did earn that. Congratulations to him. But that meant that we needed somebody to step up and play at left back. And obviously, Jake Areman did that. I think that he did very well in this game. Could have done better, just like everybody could have done better, I think, in that first half. But he got a goal. So I think that that's a pretty good, way to announce yourself as possibly the fill-in left back for Ryan Spalding, if you want to describe it that way. And in addition to that, I will just announce a couple quick defensive stats while we're on it. 2 clearances, 3 interceptions, and this one in particular, 8 recoveries. Not too bad, right? So first time that he's playing at left back in a long time. I think that that's a pretty good outing. You get a goal, you do all that as well.
Yeah.
Let's call it a day there, and I will say that Jake Areman earns it for being able to get into that position where we haven't seen him a ton before.
Yeah, fantastic game from him. He was the last person I expected to be streaking down that left side and getting on the end of that goal.
Yeah, right.
On that,
it was reminiscent of the first goal that we scored all season against Indy. I remember now.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so cool. That's where we are.
Great.
Normally, folks, what we would do here is tell you to go to shop.rblrsports.com, and hey, we would like you to do that. If you can, please check it out. But instead, we have something else to tell you about this week, and we will have to tell you about it every week, probably for the next month, because the next RBLR Rowdies watch party is coming up. We actually have a date now. It is July 22nd versus Indy 11. So for the details, it was so much of a success. We are going back to Berry House again with their award-winning beer. And yeah, tell the whole squad, get everyone out there, get everyone to come and fill the room so that we can, do the same thing. It looked like a lot of fun, and I sent my whole family there, but my wife and I were away for her birthday in another state. This time we will be around, and we will be there to make sure that everybody enjoys the party just like they did previously. So the kickoff is at 7, but the RBLR live pregame show will be on starting at 6:15. 6:15. So there will be a halftime swag giveaway and beer pitcher specials, as you can see right next to me. But yeah, please stay tuned for more info, including those giveaways and beer specials that I've mentioned. And we will see you there. You got to show up because we're going to have a great time. Now, Carlos, let's go to the next part of this show, and let's talk about the next game that we have away against Las Vegas.
Let's do it. Before we do that, though, a special apology to Dan for not picking Jordan Doherty as a man in the match. I know when we put that out, he's going to be upset about that, so sorry in advance. Anyway, this weekend, the Las Vegas Lights receive your Tampa Bay Rowdies over in Las Vegas. Yeah, Saturday, July 1st, we'll go out there and play that game starting at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Late kickoff for us, but I'm sure a game that'll be worth staying up for, hopefully. Yeah, Las Vegas currently sits in last place in the Western Conference, James. They are on 9 points. They are, at least on points, the worst team in the league. Very, very unfortunate for them. A team that is struggling, to say the least. Meanwhile, the Rowdies sit in 4th place in the Eastern Conference, within striking distance of 1st place, by the way, just 2 points out. Very, very tight top 5 in the Eastern Conference in our 16 games played. Las Vegas have lost 4 straight. I'm not going to say this part that James wrote down here, but we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, Las Vegas have lost 4 straight. They frequently line up in a 4-4-2 formation. Leo Diaz will likely start in net. Lucas Stauffer, Zach Carroll, Timothy Zali, Tyler Bagley have frequently started in that backline position, with Justin Ingram, Andrew Carlton being regular wingers, and around Andre Jimenez and Jacob Bush kind of being in those central midfield position. 2 of Tabor Etika Preston, Pato Faz, Eric Torres, and Eric Oteng will start up top. Yeah, 2 of those 4 guys usually make up those starting striker positions. Again, lost their last 4, but they have several different guys that can score goals. Kubo Torres, Lucas Stauffer, Marcelo Lage, Preston, and Pato all have 2 goals each. So that's 5 different people that have gotten on the score sheet. All have 2 goals each. Guys that, yeah, several different guys we'll have to keep an eye on. Stauffer also has 3 assists on the season, and he looks to be their most potent attacker on their side of things. So, yeah, Las Vegas' roster is made up of a U.S. soccer who, I guess U.S. soccer's one-hit wonders and some youth national teamers. Very weird lineup for a very weird team. Yeah, they've had 2 clean sheets all season. I think this is a game that we can fairly say is a must win in terms of points that we should take away from this game. If we drop points in this type of game, we'll definitely look back on it at the end of the season if we're not in first place and be like, man, those are the points we should have kept. I mean, yeah, these are one of the games that you expect to win, but you don't want to get ahead of yourself either, James. It's still a professional soccer team, even if it's just barely a professional soccer team. They play on a nightmare of a field that we have won at in the past, if I'm not mistaken. We've played out there before and won. That being said, it's still a weird pitch to play on. They're locals there. They know, I guess, the ins and outs of their pitch. They know how to play there. So I expect that always to be a little bit of a challenge. Yeah, they put up a decent fight against Louisville last week, James. Only ended up losing 1-0 off of a goal in the 77th minute. Held pretty strong, but at the end of the day, again, they did lose, and that was their 4th straight loss. They're not very good. That being said, off the field stuff, James, keep an eye out on the sideline too. They actually have some pretty cool gimmicks for attendees. The Savannah Bananas, maybe, of the soccer world in terms of their antics.
Yeah.
So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Maybe it'll be a bit more exciting than what they can produce on the field. Predictions, James, in terms of kind of how this game's going to go. What I skipped over earlier that James wrote here in our notes was when I said Las Vegas have lost 4 straight games, and we're going to assume this will be a 5th. I'm so hesitant to say we're going to win like that. Like I always predict we're going to win. I don't care if we're playing like Manchester City. I'll probably say we're going to win 1-0 or 2-1 or 3-2 or something. That being said, this is a game that it's like, okay, like we actually definitely should win this game.
Yeah.
We say that about a few games throughout the season. Maybe this Loudoun game was one of them. I kind of had that attitude about this Loudoun game. Maybe the players did too in that first half. But hopefully we take away the lessons from that first half and don't go into this game against Las Vegas too confident, too cocky, kind of expecting the win to just end up happening. That's not an attitude you can have at any professional level of sports, really. Particularly when you're traveling away, you're going out west, it's a 3-hour time difference. Jet lag always plays a little bit of a factor. You're playing on a really, really weird field over there in Las Vegas against a team that's pretty desperate to just get something happening. So it's always the teams that have nothing to play for that can always be the most dangerous. So all the works for a sort of trap game of sorts, right? And I really don't want to fall into that. So, and again, I think we've learned our lesson from this past week. I think the squad kind of understands that mentality that is necessary to come out with the 3 points that we expect this weekend. That being said, I think we win 3-1.
Damn. I was going to take a 3-1, but fair enough.
What
I will do instead is reach into the Mitch playbook, and I will say 4-1. I'm going to leave out the expletives, but 4-1.
Yeah. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like our backline has been a little bit shaky-ish sometimes throughout this year. The shutouts haven't come as easily, for sure. I think a goal can be not expected, but it would be reasonable to think that Las Vegas might put up a goal at home.
That's fair.
It's understandable. But our offense is clicking at a very high level, honestly. So I'm expecting a continuation of that, we can say, going into this game. But again, I really don't want to get ahead of myself. Las Vegas is still a professional soccer team. They can still pull out a decent result every now and then. Looking back against some of like their better opponents, they hosted Charleston Battery back in May, lost 1-0. Hosted San Antonio, lost 2-1. Not hosted, but they went out to Pittsburgh, lost 4-1, whatever. I'm thinking mostly about the games that they've played at home here, because again, playing at a field like the one they have is a unique challenge for a team that plays on a normal field. So we'll have to see. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is a game that we should win. And if we don't get the 3 points, I think everybody's going to be pretty disappointed. Again, it's the worst team in the league. Hopefully we take a lesson from the Rays. Again, the Rays have been struggling against the worst teams in baseball for whatever reason. Hopefully our overlords at the baseball stadium just 10 minutes down the road kind of give us good vibes and we learn our lesson from them. So that's all I got to say on that, James. I really don't know anything else about Las Vegas. Like I have no clue how they play, how well they play, other than kind of the summary we've kind of discussed here briefly. They have a few different guys that can score. Other than that, I just know they're not very good. Do you have any other insight we can share before we, before your preview article comes out later this week?
I mean, it's just this was. I will say one more thing from the preview article. I'm giving half of it away tonight, I feel, but it does seem like for the owner, it's just kind of an afterthought at times. It sucks for the soccer fans who are out in Las Vegas, but they didn't have anyone on their roster before February 28th of this year. Like nobody on the roster.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So at that point, you're just going to the players who are still available out in the league, and that's probably how they put together a roster that really doesn't work very well. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, you said your prediction. I said mine. I will just finish them out here and say that our producer Eureka has chosen the Rowdies as well with a 2-1 win. Our guest spot, Tom DePinto, 1330. That's the numeral 13 or the number 13, and then the spelling 30 on Discord has 2-0 to the Rowdies, and that will be all of our predictions for this one. To move into extra time real fast, because I think Carlos has a note that he wants to get to. RBLR FC will be joining the Rowdies 5v5 tournament on Saturday, July 8th, so go us. I don't know exactly what we'll be doing for that, but keep an eye out. I'm sure that our producer will have some sort of video for it, afterwards at least. And then the other thing that I wanted to say, we need your help to get nominated for Creative Loathing's Best of the Bay. Again, if you go to their website and go to the entertainment section of their nominations, you can put us in the podcast section. And that will count as a vote for us. Obviously, we would appreciate anybody doing that. Finally, really quickly, because we just learned about this, we have the next RBLR Sports watch party coming up here, and that will be Saturday, July 22nd, where we will be playing Indy 11. It will be at Berry House again. We're going to have a lot more details, but just please put that on your calendars, if you will. Tell everybody what they're doing that day, and we will see you then. Now, Carlos, tell us what you got here for this last point.
The most important thing we'll talk about this entire show, Sebastian Dalgard has a new look. That's pretty cool. He's I don't really know what else to say on this. I put out a tweet earlier today asking the Rowdies Twitterverse if anybody has anything they'd like us to talk about on this particular episode. None other than the Tampa Bay Rowdies Twitter account responded. What's your review of Sebastian Dalgard's new look with a picture of his new kind of blonde hair that I think it was somebody tweeted out he looks like Ken from the new Barbie movie, which totally tracks. I think we should make like a Ken like tifo with Dalgard's face on it. That would be great. Yeah, that's cool. Shout out Sebastian Dalgard's new look. Always a big fan of keeping up with the Rowdies squad's hair. Always interesting characters on this team. You never know what they're going to come up with. Cal Jennings has like the little Jedi like Padawan thing going with like that little strand of hair coming down. That's got to be up there in like top 3 hairstyles on the team right now. So shout out to Cal Jennings as well. Maybe that kind of revived his his season.
There you
go. Change that hairstyle, and all of a sudden he's scoring 2 goals and an assist in 25 minutes of play. So good for him. Maybe Dalgard turns it up a notch with that hairstyle too. We'll have to see.
If he does, I'm going to consider it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. What else? Last thing mentioned here. I loved the question here about, or I guess the comment for more information about the new Rowdy signing, James. Robbie, right? Did you see that? Rowdies put out a video earlier today about a robot that does the painting of the field. That's pretty cool. Not really the depth piece we were expecting, but I'm sure it'll be a great signing nonetheless going forward. So I don't know. Something to keep in mind next time you go to a game that the lines were painted by a robot. So that's pretty fun. AI.
Yep, that's true. I did like the video that came with it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, they had like a signing graphic and everything. It was weird, but I guess it was a slow day at the office.
Yeah.
So here we are.
All right, everyone. Well, I think that will do it for us here at RBLR Sports for the Rowdies show this week. Thank you for tuning in. Please follow RBLR Sports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at RBLR Sports. I am also on Twitter. If you care to get in touch with me, that is at RBLR James K. Carlos, what about you? At
Carlos TPA10 on Twitter. Tweeting the huge Rowdies content, occasional Georgetown basketball content, mostly Rowdies right now. Yeah, Raiko Rosarena, by the way. I just saw that tweet on my timeline again. Officially representing Cuba at the Gold Cup.
And they're playing tonight.
Yeah, they're playing tonight. Once you hear this episode, he will hopefully have gotten the start for the Cuban national team in the Gold Cup tonight. So good luck to him and the whole Cuban squad going forward. We're playing Guatemala at 8:45 p.m. tonight. So we'll see how that result goes. Yeah, again, good luck to Raiko.
Yep. And yeah, that will do it then for everything here. Like and subscribe to our podcast, and you can get the full experience on YouTube. We are also on Spotify, the iHeartRadio app, Apple and Google Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, YouTube, everything. We are there. So please do check us out, and you can join in the fun. So yeah, that'll do it then. Thank you. We will see you again next week. Come on, you Rowdies.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.